Utah's .05 blood alcohol content level is unnecessarily restrictive, will not meet the public safety objectives established, hurts the image of the state, and should be increased. This is the proposition by group number 1 in debate number 1. Ben Billingsley, Casey Arnold, Sonny Alden, Whitney Black, Arturo Canella, and Trevor Cahoon. The noble experiment, otherwise known as prohibition, was adopted to reduce crime and corruption rates, solve social problems, decrease the tax burden caused by prisons and poorhouses, as well as improve health and hygiene in America. Alcohol became more dangerous to consume, crime increased and became organized, the court and prison systems were stretched to the breaking point, and corruption of public officials was rampant. From the end of the Prohibition era, the debate of the blood alcohol content began. Section 408 was enacted in 1982, which began requiring states to adopt a .10 BAC per se law, and Section 410 was enacted after that. Other modifications came in 2001, and all states had adopted a .08 limit. Even after lowering the legal BAC limit to .08, there wasn't a real big change in arrests, convictions, and appeal rates for these types of crimes. With up to 70% of all alcohol-related fatalities in the country caused with the BAC of .15 and above, this law unfairly punishes those who consume alcohol responsibly. It's difficult to say if the fatalities below the .08 limit were caused because of impairment, or because any other circumstance, simply because someone had blood alcohol content was not enough. Having this high of restriction regulates the responsible drinkers that may only consume 1 to 3 beverages on a night out. According to a chart put out by the Texas Alcohol and Beverage Commission, simply consuming 1 beverage would put you in the impaired zone. This would be a criminal offense within the state of Utah. With the statistics of fatalities in this chart, it is clear this law aims at punishing responsible individuals as a whole rather than regulating those who truly pose a risk to society. The lack of confidence on behalf of the state towards its citizens is huge. This makes Utah seem like a nanny state. It imposes regulations upon citizens in an effort to monitor their social activities. Furthermore, in 2013, Utah established a not a drop law, which is the toughest out of all the 50 states, making it illegal for a motorist under the age of 21 to drive with any detectable amount of alcohol in their system. Laws that severely penalize motorists have already been established. Increasing restrictions antagonizes the public, which can ultimately lead to an increase of dissatisfaction amongst citizens. A major benefit touted by the proponents of the lower, stricter limit is that public safety is increased, that our roads will be safe from drunk drivers. But the .08 BAC is not the problem, which is drivers with a high BAC. In 2017, drivers with BAC levels of .09 and higher accounted for 26 of driving fatalities, with drivers of levels 0.19% and higher accounting for 13% alone. 66% of fatalities involved drivers with no BAC whatsoever, and just 4% were caused by drivers with BAC levels between .05 and .08. Surely each life that makes up those 4% matters, but obviously this range of .05 to .08 is not the real problem. Another problem is repeat offenders, meaning they've had previous charges that are DUI related. Of those fatal crashes caused by repeat offenders, 67% of them had BAC levels of .15 and higher. Again, it is not the range that is the problem. It's those who don't follow the law, no matter what it is. Even with a no level limit, alcohol-impaired driving fatality rates have remained stable. Further, most states have a BAC level limit of under .05 for a commercial driver license, yet there are still fatal accidents, the number of which have increased by over 61% since 2016. Again, it's not the law that's the problem, it's the people that won't follow it. Now let's look at what happens to fatality rates on our roads as restrictions are put on another leading cause, distracted driving. The graph on the left shows distracted driver fatalities with the corresponding year's restrictive legislations were passed. In 2007, Utah laws prohibited handheld telephone use while in a vehicle. Fatalities were up that year, and up again in 2009, 2011, 2015, each with more harsh laws. Though many bills have been proposed and enforcement has increased, laws regarding cell phone uses while driving hasn't changed the fatality rate. It only increases year after year. Meanwhile, with no change in the BAC limit restrictions, alcohol-impaired related fatalities decreased by over 47% from 2017 to 2018. Those who are not going to obey the law are going to do so no matter what it is. Restriction will not help, only education and awareness. Utah is home to 5 national parks, world-renowned outdoor recreation including snow sports and mountain biking. In spite of these amazing tourist opportunities, Utah has historically has a perception of being overly conservative. The historic opportunity cost foregone to the other states as a result of the stringent laws is an unmeasurable statistic. In 1983, the state of Utah paved the way in being the first state to adopt a legal driving limit of .08. Since that time, Utah has made significant investment into the tourism industry. As alcohol serving laws have become more relaxed, the perception of the state has improved. The tourism industry in the state is a very large part of the state economy. In 2017, Utah visitors spent $9.15 billion, which supported 147,000 jobs, resulting in $1.34 billion in state and local tax revenue, relieving each Utah household of $1,375. Because Utah is the first state to adopt this reduced driving limit, it is impossible to study or understand the potential implications of this action. Some may argue that it won't really make a big difference, but Utah has always been perceived as a little bit strange, and the state has thrived despite these oddities. However, even just a minute reduction in travel spending could have a material impact on state and local economies. For example, a 1% reduction in travel spending could reduce total spending by $85 million. One possible alternative is implementing more severe punishments for DUIs. Currently, first and second DUI offenses are considered Class B misdemeanors. These offenses can result in jail time for as little as 48 hours or court fines starting at approximately $1,300. Increasing the severity of the offense and the punishment, whether it is time in jail or fines, would make several people think twice about driving impaired. One form of increasing the severity of punishment is being tested in Weber County. The program is called the 24/7 Sobriety Program. This allows judges to order alcohol and drug testing at a jail facility 2 times a day, 7 days a week, for 1 year for offenders. The program was tested in South Dakota from February 2005 to 2018 with a 99% passing rate. The result from South Dakota also showed a reduction in felony DUIs by 41%, less domestic violence, and fewer issues with employment. Testing negative or failing to appear for a test will result in jail time, and participants are required to cover ongoing expenses. Other possible alternatives is to make changes to other habits and behaviors that cause impairment in drivers. Impaired driving is not limited to driving while under the influence of drugs and alcohol. Driving while impaired can include distracted driving, texting while driving, driving drowsy, and using handheld devices while driving. All of these traffic charges have much less severe fines or punishments. For instance, the ticket for distracted driving is $100. The ticket for driving while texting is $360, and drowsy driving is not even on the bail forfeiture schedule. If reducing fatalities is the goal, a savings of 4% simply does not account for the 66% that are caused without the presence of alcohol. Adopting these or other alternatives can help meet the goal of lowering the number of impaired drivers without punishing responsible drinkers. Thank you.